And this is what was said in this clip. And this actually really pissed me off here.
Article. And its premise really is like, why isn't Paige, probably what people think is, why isn't she as popular as Caitlyn?
No, that the article that said that, I'm pretty confident, was from Eaton Thomas. And his entire article was basically saying that the only reason why Caitlyn is not more popular than Paige Bueckers is due to racism. And I mean this where I'm like, there is one of these two players that has gone out of their way to, uplift uplift all players in the league, gone trying to get other players in the league, uplift players in the league of all races. There's one player that's, being directly responsible for people making millions, like players of a different race, people of all races making millions off the back of her name and her brand. And then there's Paige Bueckers, who made an SB speech 4 years ago. The reason why Paige isn't as popular is people don't want to watch Paige Bueckers play basketball. Paige Bueckers isn't as good as Caitlin Clark. Paige Bueckers isn't as fun to watch as Caitlin Clark. Her team stinks. Her team plays with zero effort. Paige Bueckers plays with no motor down the stretch because it's going to be a close game. The Wings are going to lose, and Paige Bueckers isn't going to show up every time. There was an opportunity with Caitlin gone for Paige Bueckers to take over. And what has Paige Bueckers done? She had a 44-point game in a loss where she didn't shoot down the stretch. She had a 35-point game in a loss. She has not won a single game where she scored more than 25 points. And ironically, she has actually won less games than Caitlin Clark this year, and Caitlin Clark has played 13. The same amount.
But do you think Paige should be more popular? What do you think is contributing
Paige is really
to this?
popular.
I think she's really popular too.
I think the name Paige Bueckers. I think the name Paige Bueckers is popular. I think in a similar way to Angel Reese, Paige Bueckers is popular outside of basketball. People are not watching Paige Bueckers play basketball, which is the biggest way to tell this is that when she scored 44 points, you only heard about it after the game. When Caitlin Clark's when she's playing an unbelievable game, everyone's live tweeting the game. When Paige Bueckers has her 44-point game, you don't hear a single thing about it until after the game. And then the only reason you hear about it is because people then get their viral tweets by saying, oh, Caitlin Clark could never. And it's like, well, yeah, because when Caitlin Clark scores 35 points, she has 7 assists to go with it in a win. When Caitlin Clark has 31 points, she goes and has 13 assists with it in a 30-point win. When Caitlin Clark goes and scores 32 points this season coming off an injury, she has 9 assists, 8 rebounds, and they beat an undefeated 9-0 team at that time. I don't know.
But like in a different
No, I think it's
kind
specific.
of way.
I think what I would say that I'm noticing that's lacking for not just Paige, honestly, everyone in the WNBA, including Caitlyn. I know she's not playing right now. It's like, where is the more? So we all know there's like the media coverage pie that we only had 4% at one point. Now it's up to 15, 16%, which is great. And now it's like we're all wanting more. We're wanting to be 20%, 25%.
Do you want to know how you can get covered more in the media? By getting views. Do you want to know why the WNBA last season was so relevant? Was because of one player who plays in Iowa, who played in Iowa and then went to the Indiana Fever. Ironically, Sue, you're the media. You're the media. However, Sophie Cunningham is now the biggest podcast, and Aaliyah Boston are the two biggest sources of WNBA player media outside of Angel Reese. Why? Because of the proximity to Caitlyn effect. Just from being around Caitlin Clark. You can see credentialed journalists who have links with players, like making like podcasts and stuff about teams like the Aces and get 100 views. Like Sue Bird's podcast. I just want to see how many views. Sue Bird by herself will spend 6 minutes talking about Paige Bueckers. About how good Paige Bueckers is. This clip right here on Sue Bird's podcast. Why isn't Paige Bueckers more popular than Caitlin Clark? Why isn't Paige Bueckers more popular? This entire podcast clip. 2.5k views in 5 hours. The ironic thing is that there's going to be 20, 30,000 views minimum of 20, 30,000 views minimum of people criticizing this specific take. That is why it's popular. Like, you can't force popularity. You absolutely cannot force popularity. The WNBA is pushing Paige Bueckers as the face of the league. Like, everyone complains, oh, Caitlin Clark's face is there when she only has like a 12-point game or a 17-point game and Kelsey Mitchell has 25. But then all of a sudden, it's you're then looking at Paige getting the credit for every single one of that, getting zero blame for any of Dallas's losses, even the losses where she doesn't show up down the stretch, and gets all the credit for every one of their wins, even the wins where Arike carried them by herself, which has happened in quite a few wins down the stretch in close games. It's literally just been Arike.
And I think at times when people say Paige should have more, they think that means taking away from Caitlin, and it doesn't.
No, that's not what people are saying. People are saying that because the argument for why Paige should be more popular is always being like, why is there's always but Caitlin's this popular. Why isn't Paige that popular? It's always coming from that point of view. You can make the argument that why are these players not all popular? Because let's be honest, there is one player that gets forces people to watch. There is one player that gets people off their seats to watch in the grand scheme of sports, and that's Caitlin Clark. That is why Caitlin Clark is so popular. And to complain about Paige's popularity is to argue that there's some sort of, that sports people have some sort of right to viewership and right to popularity because they're good at their sports. It's like complaining in 2001, or let's just say 2004. Why isn't Paige Siakovic was just fourth in MVP voting? Why isn't Paige Siakovic more popular than Allen Iverson? Because he's Allen fucking Iverson. He was the most popular player around. Tracy McGrady was more popular than Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was always better than T-Mac. That's how sport is. There is one ultra dynamic player in the WNBA that plays a style of basketball that we have not seen before, and ironically is trying to get that coached out of her by her own coach. And look, the worst part about this is the more that these are the conversations, the more screwed the WNBA is. Like, everyone can talk about, the viewership is up, this, that, and the other. Well, yeah, viewership should be up because there's more games. There's more games on TV. And there's less games on NBA TV. There's more games on major TV networks and ION versus NBA TV, which inflates the numbers. More games on national TV. So yeah, the viewership's obviously going to be up because everyone's playing more games on national TV. And why is the viewership up? And why are these games on national TV? Because of Caitlin Clark. Paige Bueckers has had every opportunity in the world to be more popular. She has the WNBA themselves pushing Paige Bueckers. She's had all the media trying to make up that she's having a comparable rookie season to Caitlin Clark. And she's just averaging less points, rebounds, assists, blocks on a way lower true shooting percentage, lower effective field goal percentage, does it in a boring style, plays equally as little defense, and is on the worst team in the league. And also never shows up in the clutch. Like, if you are arguing Paige has had a better rookie season than Caitlin Clark, you are doing so in bad faith. Because it's not close. Paige has not had a better rookie season than Aaliyah Boston. Paige has not even had a better rookie season than Angel Reese. Angel had a much better rookie season. Because I'm sorry, regardless of all the layups and the stuff, and there was a period where she was quite poor, but you better believe Angel Reese willed that team to wins. She willed that team to wins. I'm sorry. She willed that team to a win against Indiana. She willed that team to a win against New York at the start of the season. She willed that team to a win against Seattle, her and Kennedy Carter. She was terrible against the Aces through 3 quarters, and her and Kennedy took over in that 4th quarter to win the game. Angel was clutch as fuck last year. Like, Angel and Kennedy Carter willed that team to 13 wins. And I'm sorry, whatever you want to say about Angel Reese, she was better as a rookie than Paige is.
Caitlin deserves everything she gets, and Paige deserves more, and Angel Reese deserves more, and Asia, and Fee, and.
Yeah.
I think
when it comes to popularity, nobody deserves anything. Nobody has a God-given right to popularity. Nobody has a God-given right. In order for these players to be popular, fans have to give up their time. For these players to be popular, Fans have to be willing to give up their time to follow these players. No player in any sport, no sport has a God-given right to people's time. Nothing is more valuable than people's time. You have to earn popularity because in the grand scheme of things, you have to earn people's time. You can't say X, Y, or Z player deserves to be bigger. They deserve to be bigger because you have to earn it. You absolutely have to earn it. And it's one of those things where it's like, yes, there were situations in the WNBA in the past where where players weren't pushed in a way. That's not the case with Fee. That's not the case with Asia. That's not the case with Angel Reese. That's not the case with Paige Bueckers. These are all players that have been off the court. Angel Reese is an S tier celebrity. Fee Collier is just a universally liked millionaire who set up Unrivaled and is huge. Aja Wilson has her own signature shoe. Paige Bueckers is the player the fans has been pushed down the fans' throats more than anyone else, and the fans have just said no. The fans have just said no about Paige Bueckers. She doesn't draw viewership at all. Like, she draws less viewership than Arike. Arike is the most popular player to watch on that Dallas Wings team. She doesn't draw viewership. She doesn't really sell jerseys that much. Like, her jerseys were comparable to her UConn teammate Caitlin Chen this season. Doesn't really sell jerseys. And is she a good player? Yeah, she's a real good player. I think if you put her on the Lynx, she'd be the second best player on the Lynx, and the Lynx would walk to a championship. But, like, she is what she is. She's not a risk taker. She's a conservative player. She's a risk-averse player. And I'm sorry, you cannot... There's, like, nobody... If you're asking me who is the better basketball player between, again, Tim Duncan versus Allen Iverson. Tim Duncan by 100 miles. But Allen Iverson pulled off the spectacular. He pulled off the spectacular, and that's why he was popular. But we didn't have people 20 years ago demanding Tim Duncan be more popular. I don't get it.
Specific to Paige, you might argue her popularity and the people that are fans of her has been underrated, which shocks me. And I think people forgot how popular and how engaging Paige is and how people are drawn to her. She should be followed and covered in a way that is similar to what we saw with Caitlyn, because that's how popular she is.
Yeah.
It's not to...
No, if Paige was followed and covered in the same way as Caitlyn, a lot of people would be losing a lot of jobs. A lot of people would be losing a lot of money. If following Paige Bueckers, first of all, Paige Bueckers is not a fun basketball player to watch. Like, you can see in my banner. I made my banner a while ago. I thought I was going to be covering men's basketball and college basketball. Like, at the time, I still do love Angel Reese, a basketball player. Not the biggest fan of Angel Reese in general, but big fan of Angel Reese, a basketball player. My banner is Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers. Because, man, I watched Paige a few times at UConn. I'm like, this player is legit. And she's just not it. Like, Juju Watkins is not it either. Sarah Strong is fundamentally sound, but she's the best of the three of them at basketball. And I was looking at college basketball. It's the Michaela Blakes of the world, the Mylasia Fulwiley's. They're going to be the interesting players. They're going to be the players that are going to draw in fans. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. I'll see you guys.